Hey, how's it going everyone? I'm White Pointer, and in this video, I decided to revisit a PC game from the late 90s that I still have in my collection, based on a TV show I was heavily into at the time, the X-Files. Some of you may remember this game, so hopefully you can take a trip down memory lane with me. The X-Files game was released in 1998, right when the show is at the peak of its popularity, although the game itself takes place 2 years prior to that in 1996. This was a point-and-click adventure game and also an interactive movie, capitalising on the full-motion video or FMV craze that was going on in gaming at the time. Unlike a lot of those other FMV games though, this one's not bad. I'll be covering the Windows PC version of the game in this video, but it also released on Mac OS, and surprisingly also received a console version on the PlayStation 1. The PS1 version consisted of 4 discs, but the PC version had just 1. I mean, 2. No, 3. Okay, fine, it had 4 CDs as well. Well, actually, there was 5. Just kidding, it was 6. Wait, there's more! It was 7. That's right, it was a ridiculous 7 CDs, mostly due to the roughly 6 hours of high quality video the game contained. Well, high quality at the time anyway. The game obviously features actors from the show, and adding to the authenticity, the show's creator Chris Carter was involved in the story, and much of the same crew that shot the show also filmed the sequences in the game. However, it is a bit annoying that most of it is shot in widescreen, and not 4:3, which was still the standard at the time, so there's huge letterboxing. It's also locked to a resolution of 640 by 480, with no way to increase it, which was mostly fine in 1998, but means the game is restricted to running in a pretty small window now in 2023. Well, that's assuming you get the game running at all, because it doesn't work on modern 64-bit operating systems. The way I'm running it in order to capture the footage in this video is through a virtual machine running Windows XP. Thankfully, you can opt for a full installation, which requires about 3.5 GB of disk space, but removes the need to swap disks, or even have a disk in the drive at all, which is nice. The manual too is actually well done, giving you all the information you'll need to know, the backstory of the main character, and it includes full colour pictures, which wasn't all that common at the time. Alright, so onto the game itself, and it plays out kind of like a long episode of the show, commencing with a short prologue scene that sets up the story, followed by the show's iconic opening sequence. You play as a new character created for the game, Agent Craig Wilmore, an FBI agent based in the field office in Seattle. The game begins with you meeting Assistant Director Skinner, who briefs you on your new case. He's travelled to your office because 2 of his agents, Fox Mulder and Dana Scully, of course, have been missing for 3 days and were last seen in your area of jurisdiction, and he wants you to find them. The search will take priority over your other cases, so you hand them over to your partner, Agent Mark Cook, and head off with Skinner to the hotel they were staying in, the Comity Inn. After inspecting their rooms, you'll find Scully's laptop, and then obtain a record of outgoing calls from their rooms, and tracing one of the numbers leads you to a dockside warehouse. As you search the warehouse, you find some evidence of foul play and interview a fisherman who docks next to it named Wong. Skinner then needs to return to DC, but you go back to the warehouse that night where you observe some men taking cargo from a secret compartment in the floor. The following day, when you arrive at the field office, you find your partner Cook out cold on the floor. When he comes to, he explains he was attacked by an unknown assailant and has discovered Scully's laptop is missing. You also find out that the fisherman you interviewed yesterday, Wong, has been murdered, so you head back to the warehouse and the dock next to it, where you meet Detective Mary Astadorian. You decide to team up, and the investigation continues from there as you head out to examine the ship that mysteriously burned at sea a couple of months ago, killing all its crew. I'm not going to ruin the whole story, but this is the X-Files we're talking about here, so this normal beginning to the story eventually turns to the supernatural, when bodies start showing up burnt to a crisp, and ties back into the overarching narrative of the TV show. Mind you, the plot doesn't throw too many surprises at you, and you'll probably see the twists coming a mile away. Wilmore ultimately does track down Scully and then Mulder, who then accompany him for the remainder of the adventure. Aside from them and Skinner, you'll also encounter a few other characters from the show, including Mulder's mysterious informant known as X, and the lone gunman, Langley, Byers and Frohickey, in a pretty amusing scene, which I must say has remarkable clarity for what's supposed to be a video call over the internet in 1996. Thankfully, the game avoids the obtuse puzzles that are often found in point-and-click adventure games from this era, aside from one kinda dumb puzzle near the start of the game in order to find your computer password. So there's no need to combine items in various illogical ways in order to find solutions and make progress. Instead, you'll be uncovering clues, finding evidence, and conducting interviews. It's not always entirely clear what you're supposed to be looking for though, and some of the evidence is really small and hard to spot. Some locations are quite large too, so you'll often find yourself going from screen to screen and routinely moving the cursor around to see if it changes to indicate something can be examined. Once you find your clues, you often need to take them back to the crime lab for analysis. If you were ever stuck, you can always go back to your boss and ask him for help, and he'll normally point you in the right direction without telling you exactly what to do, such as telling you that you haven't found all the evidence in a particular location yet. If you are really stuck, then the game also has a hint system that you can turn on called Artificial Intuition to help you find those elusive clues. Interviewing people is done through the use of a context menu with various dialogue options, or sometimes various icons or pieces of evidence. Asking certain questions can open up new lines of questioning, although it must be said there isn't really any branching dialogue trees here. For the most part, you just need to ask all the questions that you can, and in the cases where there are multiple options available, it may change that specific interaction slightly, but has no bearing on how the overarching narrative plays out. Sometimes you might also need to show or give an item to an NPC before they open up a bit more and you can ask them more questions. You also occasionally get a choice of some emotional responses, though again, they only slightly alter the current scene and don't affect anything else. In fact, like most point-and-click adventure games, and especially most interactive movies like this one, the whole experience is entirely linear. While you can visit any previous location basically whenever you want, you won't be able to head to the next location and progress the story until you've completed all the objectives that the game wants you to do. Wilmore is equipped with a variety of stuff to help him out, such as his trusty FBI badge, which you need to actually deliberately show before many NPCs will talk to you, a gun, a mobile phone, a PDA, an evidence kit, a lockpick, a digital camera, binoculars, night vision goggles, a torch, and more. Most of these are used pretty sparingly, especially the gun, which can really only be used for a couple of specific shootout scenes. What is kind of unique in a game like this though, is that you can actually die. Depending on the situation, sometimes the game is merciful and lets you immediately try again, but other times it's just a straight game over, forcing you to reload from the last time you saved. Most of the time, deaths are logical, but occasionally you can die simply by walking in the wrong direction, which can feel pretty cheap. And without giving anything away, the final area of the game is pretty confusing and unforgiving, so you'll probably die a lot and be tempted to save often as a result. But you need to be careful about doing that, as if you do things wrong and save it, you might even get into a state where you can't actually finish the game without reloading an older save, if you have one. So there's a word of caution.
Hold on. I was assigned to find you and Scully. I've done that. I'm out of here.
What kind of attitude is that? The game's not over yet. Don't you want to wait around for the payoff?
Okay.
The X-Files game isn't overly long, with a first-time playthrough lasting maybe 10 to 12 hours, although once you know where all the clues are and what to do, you can probably knock it over in just a couple of hours, which makes you wonder if it was worth it to ship the game on 7 CDs. But if you were a fan of the paranormal adventures of Mulder and Scully, this would have been right up your alley, and given the way the story is structured, it actually serves as a pretty good entry point into the X-Files as well if you are unfamiliar with it. If you can manage to get the game running, or maybe track down the PS1 version, It's definitely worth checking out if you were into the show, as I very much was. It's not the best or most innovative adventure game you'll ever play, but it's incredibly faithful to the source material and better than many other interactive movies, and that's good enough. Do you remember this game? Did you ever play it? What did you think about it? I'd love to hear about your experiences, so drop me some comments below and let me know, as I do read all of them. Give me a thumbs up if you like this video, it really helps a lot, and don't forget to subscribe to stay up to date with my content. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.
How did you get this address?
Well, we assumed you had the standard issue bureau box on your desktop. And all those are equipped for full duplex video conferencing, though nobody ever uses it. So we just looked you up in the Peekaboo white pages, which list the DNS entry and IP address of every Peekaboo-equipped machine in the country. Pretty straightforward, really. You want Janet Reno's number?
No, I'll pass, thanks.
Are you sure? She keeps the computer in the bedroom.